Hello, choppers, and welcome to episode 2 of The Chop with Marvin Lee. And I know that I still have about 2 minutes that everybody assumes that I'm going to be live, but I just went ahead and clicked on. And unfortunately, the guest that I had tonight, I just found out a couple hours ago that they had to cancel because they had a prior commitment that they had forgotten about. And of course, Siri reminded them, which is not a problem because one thing that I definitely believe in is no coincidences. And I define a coincidence as nothing more than a miracle that God doesn't get credit for, or a miracle is, a coincidence is defined as a miracle that the universe doesn't get credit for, right? So with that being said, everything works the way it's supposed to work, how it's supposed to work. And one of the things I want to talk about tonight on this episode is, stepping into our power. And the moment that we step into our power, we step into our purpose. And it sounds deep, and it's really not. I found that to be my truth. The moment that I step into my power, I step into my purpose. Well, how do I even begin to understand what my power is, and how do I even begin to step into my purpose? The first thing is by being rigorously self-honest, right? Being totally self-aware, being totally self-conscious. What am I doing to enhance my spiritual well-being? What am I doing to take care of me? Am I prioritizing myself? Do I understand energy? Do I understand frequencies? Am I positioning myself to be around people that bring out the best in me? What is my vibration? What is my frequency? And a lot of it sounds confusing. It might to some. It's not as confusing as it sounds. And before I get started, I kind of want to read something that I had posted on my Facebook page. I had seen this on IG, and I really liked it. It said, "This is a little reminder that the light you bring to the world is needed so much more in times of darkness. Please keep sharing your generous heart without fear. There are so many people out there who rely on the magic you create and the kindness you spread. You could be the reason someone smiles today, the reason someone pauses and takes a deep breath. You never know who needs to be touched by a heart like yours. So please keep spreading your light." That I took I took that as a message to me, but I'm also sharing that as a message to you. Again, this is The Chop with Marvin Lee. My slogan is "Hope lives here," right? Hope is helping other people elevate. I want to inspire you. I want to motivate you to shine your own light. Because again, there's so much darkness in the world, and there's so much hopelessness in the world. And we talked about that last week, or I talked about it because I appeared by myself. I may start small, but I'm not going to stay small. But as I said earlier, I want to talk about tonight stepping into my power to step into my purpose. Again, what does it look like to be powerful? First off, how I began to recognize my power is to understand that I have the ability to choose, right? A choice is power. And I have to have the right information to make the correct choice. And sometimes I may choose wrong, right? But if I choose wrong, even though I have the right information and I make a mistake, there's a lesson in that. If I extract from the lesson something that I need that promotes growth or betters my life, was it really a mistake? Perhaps it had to happen the way that it happened so that I could see my growth. At the end of the day, again, what does it mean to be powerful? It's not so much power in the sense that I have ego, or I have a false sense of pride or anything else of that nature. But standing in my power means that I'm standing in my truth. What is my truth? My truth is my value system, my beliefs. What makes me me? What makes me me? So again, if I stand in my power, I can stand in my purpose. And what that looks like for me is, I'm one of those people that I had the privilege of sharing with someone the other day. They were telling me that they suffered from a specific thing. And it was interesting when they said that to me. It hit me, but immediately as it hit me, the reason it hit me so strong is because I said to them, instead of you suffering from this thing, why don't you make this thing suffer from you? There's power. I learned how to flip the script, right? Every coin has two sides. There's a positive and a negative. There's a heads, there's a tails. There's an up, there's a down. There's a right, there's a left. No matter what the case may be, where there's a negative, there's also a positive. right? How do I flip that negative thing and make it positive? How do I spin that into a positive thing? Again, that goes back to what is my perspective? Whatever my perspective is, and catch that. My perspective. What you think about what you are going through is unique to you. What I think about what I am going through is unique to me. It doesn't matter what you call me, it matters what I answer to. It doesn't matter what you say about me, it matters what I believe about myself as a result of what I say about myself. I talk a lot about affirmations. What does it mean to affirm? It just simply means, what do I believe? What do I believe? A lot of us have spent years of our lives having been told who we are by other people, to the point that we begin to believe the hype. And again, it creates limiting beliefs on our end, right? That means I've agreed with the negative things that people have had to say about me. Doesn't matter why I agreed with them. I mean, of course, insecurities result, low self-esteem, just a whole lot of different negatives or what have you. But it is never too late to change the thought process. And the more that we engage in flipping how we think, the easier it becomes. No different than working out. If I want to improve upon my physical body, if I want to improve upon my physical strength, I am going to work out. I'm going to eat properly. There are things that I am going to have to do. I'm going to have to engage in a process that allows me to meet that goal of building my body, right? So it would be crazy if I said that I wanted to bulk up and I wanted to be at a certain weight class or whatever the case may be, knowing that I'm going to have to work out to achieve that goal, only to not engage in the process of working out. And it is no different on the spiritual end of the spectrum. If I want to improve upon my spiritual well-being, if I want to improve upon my self-awareness, if I want to improve upon my power so that I can stand in my purpose, then I have to begin the process of the spiritual work. What does that look like? It could look like shadow work. It could look like a lot of different things. I don't get to define for you what your spirituality is. That's something you define for yourself. Why do you believe what you believe? How do you begin to change the process of believing what you believe? It's the enhancements, personal awareness, self-development, personal development rather, self-awareness, things of that nature. I like to read a lot. And that's something I engaged in prior. A lot of you guys know my story. I struggled with addiction. I struggled with mental illness at one point in my life. And I got away from reading. I got away from self-help things. I got away from the things that really brought me peace. The chaos ensued. I would deliberately self-sabotage because I had gotten so comfortable with the chaos that if things turned in my favor, it didn't seem right. It didn't feel right. And so because I was accustomed to the chaos, because I was accustomed to drama, I engaged in creating chaos and I engaged in creating drama. I love to hear a lot of people say that I don't do drama, but yet drama's always following. And I was that person, and I had to ask myself, why is this the case, right? And then I understood from this perspective that we don't attract what we want. We attract what we are. So with that being said, I was being dramatic because that was a part of who I was. And therefore I was bringing the dramatic energy into my life and trying to figure out why I was experiencing anxiety, why I was constantly being triggered, why I was, all these negative emotions were happening to me. And now I have the mindset that these things didn't happen to me, they happened for me. But I was able to flip that narrative by doing some work on myself. And the funny thing about life for me that I've come to understand is that, we'll get the test in life first and the lesson comes after. We'll get the test in life first and the lesson comes after. Now, when I was in school, I used to get the lesson first and then I'd get the test. And when I took the test, based on what my conditioning was during the lesson, it dictated how well I performed on that test. Life is not like that. Life happens on life's terms. I get the test first. I don't know whether to go right, whether to go left, whether to go up, go down. I don't know what to do. But somehow in the process, whatever choice or whatever decision that I make, I have to accept the situation for what it is and then begin to learn from it, right? And in so doing, over time, I've learned that after disseminating the information that I needed to, or extracting the information from the lesson that I needed to, I was able to see that those things were happening for me and not happening to me. How do I know that I'm human unless I err? To err is human, right? How did I know that I was growing unless I was making mistakes? And then was presented with the opportunity to make the same mistake, and I was able to choose a different route. That's how I knew the measure of my progress. In school, we get progress reports. In life, we get progress reports. But we are the ones that give ourselves the progress reports, or other people may notice it, or we see signs, or whatever the case is. We get those progress reports. Therefore, we know whether we're growing, progressing in life, or whether we're not growing and regressing in life, right? And I'm in a position now where I find myself in harmony with my reality. My reality isn't based on what other people think, see, feel, or know. It's based on what I think, see, feel, or know. It's based on my experiences. And something that I have learned as it relates to other people, other people's processes, is I don't compare myself to anybody else, because nobody else is me, and I'm not anybody else. Everybody else in the world is taken. So I would rather be me, because everybody else is taken. I can't walk in your shoes and be the person you are, but I can walk in my shoes and be the person that I am and be my most genuine and most authentic self, because there's only one me, and I love who I am. The mistakes that I've made, the highs, the lows, the ebbs, the flows, everything, the positives, the negatives, I am neither good nor bad. I just am. And I have come to the realization that being who I am, understanding that, has given me the freedom to just be. I am a spiritual being having a human experience, and I'm learning the lessons in that human experience to become progressively better in my life, so that I can then have an impact on somebody else's life. If you have the willingness to listen, if you have the willingness to be taught, if I have the willingness to listen, if I have the willingness to be taught, I have the fortitude to change. I have the fortitude to progress. I have the ability to grow. I have the ability to now understand that I have power, and I know that I have this power, and I become aware of this power. And at some point, I have the realization that once I step into that power, I can now safely step into my purpose. And that's when living totally transforms. And it's in that process where I understand that I'm independent. I am independent. I need other people in my life in terms of interdependence. We all need each other to grow. Again, I don't compare myself, but I know as an empath, I don't understand that gift of empathy without having someone to be empathetic towards. If I'm a compassionate person, interdependence tells me I need other people in order for that gift of compassion to flow. Iron sharpens iron. That means I need somebody else to sharpen me. Somebody else needs me to sharpen them. So in that regard, I understand interdependence, but then the flip side of that is codependence. But we won't talk about that. I'll save that for another episode. I was hoping that I would have some people come into the audience. And it's okay. It's okay. Again, I've learned how to be on my own, stand on my own. Whether I have someone else to engage with or not, it's not going to prevent me from showing up every week Monday night at 8:30. If I have to chop by myself, I will. There's somebody somewhere that's going to benefit by one thing that I say. And that's all that matters to me. Whether I have big influence, little influence, major significance, minor significance, whether I have a major impact or minor impact, it doesn't matter as long as I have it. I may start small, I won't stay small. A farmer goes out and he plants seeds on one day. He doesn't expect to go out the next day and have a harvest from the seeds that he planted. It's a process. And amazingly, those seeds are buried in the dark. Buried in the dark. And the conditions aren't always favorable. Sometimes it's dry, sometimes it's wet, soggy, and everything else, but it's a process. And in that process, that seed begins to bud, begins to blossom. And the harvest comes. The planting comes first, the harvest comes later. But the spiritual principle of patience has to be present. The spiritual principle of patience has to be present. And again, as long as I'm patient in the process is going to do what it was designed to do. I just have to be aware and hold on. Again, what is my power? What is my purpose? What is the thing that you are passionate about? What is the thing that I'm passionate about? What is that thing that I love to do? What is that thing that if you told me I could not do this for the rest of my life, it would alter my mood. It would make me feel sad. It would make me feel like I wasn't being myself. And for me, that would be the ability to relate to other people, the ability to talk to other people. If you told me I couldn't talk, oh my goodness, I would find a way to talk. If you told me I couldn't sing, I'd find a way to sing. If you told me that I was not going to be able to see other people, I'd figure out a way to create a person. I mean, there's already a way to do that, but I'm saying that I was the only person on this earth. I would find a way. I would find a way. And you may say to yourself, you sound crazy. I mean, sometimes you have to sound crazy. Sometimes you have to be radical with the craziness. Sometimes you have to be radical in how you believe. Sometimes you have to be radical in why you believe. Sometimes you have to feel as if you are the only person that believes in what you believe, if that's what it takes. If that's what it takes. But it's benefited me that other people have believed in me. There was a time I didn't believe in myself, right? And I'm grateful that I can say that because I am the person that sees the best in others. First, I had to start by seeing the best in myself. It was easier for me to see the best in other people than it was for me to see the best in myself. But over the past few months, it seems to have accelerated where I see the best in me. I deserve a life of happiness. I deserve a life of abundance. I deserve a life of freedom. I deserve all that the universe, all that God has said I deserve. I deserve to live my best life. But I am the only person who can prevent me from living that life. And I've decided that I don't want to do that. Why? Because I understand the moment that I tap into my power, I step into my purpose. And my purpose is not just for me. My purpose is to help others, to serve others, to be there. Again, I shared with you guys last week an affirmation that I recite on a daily basis. I am light. I am love. I was made with divine intention. I can. I will. I am enough. And again, I remind myself that on a daily basis, I'm light. That means, in a world of darkness, why do I need to complain about the darkness if I'm light? Just be who I'm supposed to be, who I know that I am. Be what I have professed that I am, and other people are going to benefit from that. I'm love. Where there's hate, I don't worry about the hate. I just show up, and the love shifts, changes the atmosphere. I just show up, and I'm just who I am. and I can shift the atmosphere. I have the ability to do that now. I've always had that ability, but I wasn't aware. And what I'm not aware of, I'm not prone to practice. Practice. That's exactly what it is. And that's what it takes. Practice. Continue to do the thing that I know that I'm capable of doing. After having done it long enough, it just becomes second nature, just like breathing. It is not difficult for me to be a positive-minded person. Why? Because I've had to practice being positive. Why? Because I got sick and tired of being negative. I got sick and tired of being sick and tired, so I decided to change in that process. I cannot fault anybody else, and I can't blame anybody else for my circumstances. I'm no longer a victim. I'm a volunteer. I'm not a victim of suffering these days. I can volunteer to suffer. When I know better, I do better. I have the ability to make better choices. Why? Because I have better information. But if I didn't change my perspective, none of that would be true. Well, no, it would still be true. My perspective would just still be skewed, and I wouldn't embrace or I wouldn't accept that truth. And I would continue to live beneath my privileges of what I was created to be. So no matter how many times that I would say to myself, I am light, I am love, I was made with divine intention, I can, I will, I am enough. If my perspective is still based on the negative influences that I've allowed in my life, first off, I'm not going to be affirming myself. Something has to change at some point. Something changed at some point for me to become totally aware on a higher level of consciousness, that I have to begin to say the things about myself that I know to be true or that I want to be true. But you're telling a lie. You said, no, if I believe it, I am creating my truth. I am creating my reality by setting my intentions, by saying what I know to be true. That's not lying. That's speaking out of faith. Faith says, in the face of what looks to be true, that's not the truth. The truth is what comes from within. What comes from within? If I put garbage in, garbage is going to come out. So I need to make sure that what I'm putting in my body, and what I'm feeding my spirit, what I'm seeing with these eyes, what I'm hearing with these ears, it has to be something that is going to build me up. I don't have to wait. I don't need to wait for anybody else to give me permission to be who I need to be, who I want to be, who I desire to be, who I needed to be. When I was growing up, I've decided to just become that person to me. And in so doing, I know how to become that person to other people. Standing in my power allows me to stand in my purpose. And that is something that I am good at, standing in my power. I can't stand in your power. Now, I can try to be a wet blanket and stand in the way of your power. But even then, I don't have that kind of power over you. I don't have that kind of control to stop you. Only you can stop you. If I stand in your way as an obstacle or as a hindrance, become a steamroller, just plow me over. Nothing or nobody will prevent me from being my best self. Nothing or nobody. Why is that? Because I have to be my best self so that I can be that light, that motivation, that encouragement. I want to be to other people what other people have become to me. I want to learn from the mistakes that I've made in my life. I don't want to be ashamed of anything that I've ever done. I mean, I don't want to have any regrets. And I try not to have any regrets. And I don't want anybody that I speak to, that I interact with, or that I come across. I don't want you to feel less than the person that you were created to be. I know that time takes time, that we all start. Get in the process. We got to start it, go. Don't finish it, go. Start it, go. And once you get going, keep going. And once you begin going, start growing. And once you start growing, keep growing. Don't just go through what you're going through, grow through what you're going through. But don't forget to check on yourself in the process so that you can, once I began to see my own growth, I began building this sense of self-worth. I began building this sense of pride, not in an arrogant way, but in a healthy way, in a healthy manner. I have the ability to, if something's not right with me today, flaws, whatever the case may be, I have put down the hammer and I picked up the feather. I'm gentle with myself. I treat me the way that I needed people to treat me when I felt like I was at my most vulnerable as a kid. I put down the hammer, picked up the feather. I treat myself with respect. I treat myself with love. And some days I'm better at it than other days. But the thing about it is I keep at it. I don't stop. I do not stop. Sometimes it's easy for me to want to stop because I go so hard in the spiritual work that I do on myself. And what I mean by that is healing from traumas of the past, emotional baggage. Because again, I'm not a spiritual hoarder or an emotional hoarder. That's something that I used to, that I come to understand about myself, is that I would hoard emotions. I would hoard feelings, and that allowed me, that caused me to carry stress in my body, caused me to be sick, because as a result of stress, our bodies, we experience stress, but we also have stress relievers. What does that look like? It can look like a plethora of things for us. I like exercising, don't do much of it. I like walking, I like going to the beach, I like reading, I like sleeping, I like watching movies, I like meditating, and meditating can be, there are many ways of practicing meditation. And I won't get into those. That could be a topic one day. We'll see. But I do a lot of things to take care of Marvin, because there's only one me. I can't depend on anybody else to do the things for me that I know that I'm capable of doing for myself. It's interesting because I was reading something, and I can't remember what it was, but basically, I think it was Albert Einstein, who said that I was glad when people said no to me, because as a result of them saying no to me, I ended up having to do things myself. And I thought about that, and it's easy sometimes to ask people to do for me, right? But if I get a no, it doesn't hurt my feelings. I'm grateful for every no I ever got, because those no's taught me how to say yes to myself. And in saying yes to myself and doing the thing that I thought was uncomfortable to do in the first place, that I needed somebody else to do for me, I started to realize my own strength. And in realizing my own strength, that's when I started to understand my power. And the more that I started to understand my power, it became easier for me to begin to see my purpose. Now it's just like the space that I'm in, I'm able to practice patience more so than I ever have. That's not to say that I miss the mark some days, and that's not to say I don't display impatience, because, oh my God, I can be very impatient. But for the most part, I have more patient moments than I do impatient moments. Thankfully, I don't have any impatient moments, meaning that I'm in the hospital because I'm stressed out with life. Life happens on life's terms, and I've gotten accustomed to going with the flow. I don't go against the grain anymore. And that was, I used to love going against the grain. And it was just too much work and very tiring, very depressing. Even I have a healthy relationship with depression, even because I understand depression, depressed, DEPRESSED. The pronunciation is depressed, and it sounds like deep rest, DEEPREST. So depression in and of itself, or being depressed in and of itself, is not a bad thing. It's just my body's way of saying you need to enter into deep rest. When do we enter into deep rest? After an intense period of work, which means that I'm doing something productive. So now my body is saying, or my spirit is saying, because again, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. My spirit is saying, okay, it's time for us to rest. Let's process what we've gone through. And in the process of processing what we've gone through or extracting um, nuggets of wisdom or whatever the case is, we're extracting something, we're analyzing data about ourselves, we are becoming fully self aware of things that we need to be aware of so that we can continue on this journey that we call life. It may not be perfect, and it's not going to be perfect. And if my life were perfect, I don't know what that would look like. I'm just grateful to have the life that I do have. I'm grateful to be alive because, again, I just reached 50 years old, and there are some people who didn't make it. I want to live a long and a healthy and a prosperous life, an abundant life of joy. Um, I want to continue to give. I don't want to hold on to anything. Again, I'm not an emotional hoarder. I'm not a spiritual hoarder, and I am not a hoarder of anything materially. If I got it, look, in fact, there's sometimes I'm just like, I've been faulted for like, you just give, I'd give away everything if I could. But, you know, I know that I have to live and I need resources in order to be able to do so. But the main point that I'm making in this is that I'm not controlled by things. I don't ever want to be controlled by things. I don't want to be that person that has to have the latest fashion or the latest greatest invention just to say that I have something. No, I would rather be that person. I'm 1,000 times bigger and richer on the inside than I am on the outside. And I have learned that the things that materially manifest in my life externally are a reflection of how I am internally. Anyways, I'm spiritually wealthy. And you may say, yeah, that sounds really good. That's what broke people say. Well, first off, I'm not broke. I'm in between blessings. So let's understand that. But no, we are spiritually wealthy. Once we come to that realization and we acknowledge that, we allow things to flow from within. So I continue to work on myself so that I can continue to unleash my potential, unleash that wealth, unleash that abundance. Because again, I can't do for other people what I haven't done for myself. And if I want to have significance, if I want to have an impact, if I want to be have a major influence in the lives of other people, sometimes it takes resources. I have a dream for my life. I have a vision for my life. And this podcast is actually a part of that. I want to be able to um, significantly change this world. But we change the world not by changing the whole world. We change the world by impacting or touching one heart at a time. That's something that I've come to understand. And it allows me to settle into the truth that just change the world for one person. That's where it begins. Um, it has been 32 minutes that I've talked, and this is called The Chop with Marvin Lee, and I don't have any audience members that are chopping with me tonight, and that's okay. That's okay. Again, I may start small. I'm not going to stay small. I need to promote better. So even in this process here, we see things that ways of areas of opportunity for me. It's not that I'm making mistakes or anything. I can put the invitation out there, but if there are no responses, it's not going to stop me. It's not going to stop me. Not going to stop me. And that's something I've learned in life. I want to live from that, from a place of nothing is going to stop me. Nothing is going to deter me. I will continue to be that spiritual being having the human experience. I will continue to do what I know to do. I will continue to show up. I will continue to show out. I will continue to keep loving. I will continue to keep shining my light. I will continue to be who I've been created to be. I was created on purpose, with purpose. And the power that I need to stand in to realize that purpose, I will continue to make it manifest. That is who I am. That is my gift to myself. That is my gift to you. Again, this is episode 2 of The Chop with Marvin Lee, learning how to stand in your power, that you may learn how to stand in your purpose, or that you can discover your purpose. This is an hour-long podcast, but again, I'm cutting it short because I don't want to just keep talking for a whole hour by myself. So this does conclude episode 2 of The Chat with Marvin Lee. Next week, Monday night, 8:30 p.m. Actually, I may broadcast depending upon the guest that I get, because there's one particular guest that I have asked, and they can't accommodate Monday nights, but they do have availability on Wednesday nights. So for next week, depending on if I can get this guest or not, I may be broadcasting on Wednesday night at 8:30 instead of Monday night at 8:30, but then I'll resume the following week, Monday nights at 8:30. Tell yourself how great you are on a daily basis, not from a place of arrogance, or you can use my affirmation. You are light. You are love. You were made with divine intention. You can, you will, you are enough. And with that, meet me next week so we can chop together. I love you. Have a great week. Namaste.